right. Welcome to episode 86 of the Slip and We podcast. My guest this week is Manuel Tino Avila. Very excited to have you today. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Just do me a favor. I know, the people that listen to me mostly are hardcore fight fans, but just introduce yourself. Let everybody know like the accolades and accomplishments, where you're from, all that.
Well, I'm from Fairfield, California. I train in Martinez with Phil Mondello, Dr. Phil. Uh, you know, I have a decent resume. I had beat Yandor Salinas for the interim NABF title. I beat Rene Alvarado shortly after that. And then I fought Jojo Diaz on the Chavez Canelo undercard. Lost that one by decision. And then I also fought Joette at the Home Depot Center, or Dignity Health now, I think what it's called.
Well, real quick, just tell me a little bit about fighting a guy like Rene Alvarado, man, because I've seen him on TV like, I don't know, 10 times, and like win, lose, or draw, whoever it is, he gives him a handful. Even William Zepeda, when he fought him that last time, he gave him a tough fight. What was it like being in with him?
I mean, he was probably one of the tougher opponents that I've had. Not the toughest opponent I had, but he was up there. He just kept coming forward no matter what. But I mean, I remember that fight. I didn't have a training camp for that fight. So literally after the first 3 rounds, they're like, all right, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, because they watch footage, I guess on the flight over, it was last minute. My coach just flew in last minute because like I said, I didn't have a training camp. He's like, are you gonna do this for the first 3 rounds? I'm like, all right. And he was like, all right, well, it looks like that's not really working. So you're gonna do this for the next 3 rounds. So we tried everything for 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds. And they're like, you know what? I was like, it looks like you might be a little up. I was like, you know what? 10th round, just fucking go Tino. So I just, I just remember and I know everyone was like, where the hell? Like that should have been the whole fight where I fought by around 10. But I was like, with a tougher opponent, we know he's coming forward, we got to try different shit too.
So what were the circumstances? You said you didn't have a training camp. Why was that? And how did the fight come about? And what was that like for you, just not having the preparation and having to still perform?
Yeah, I like to work out. So I always run. I always run, so I mean that's probably what helped me. So I was living in Salinas at the time, and I was getting ready to start my training camp, but my wife, I was like at the time I was newly married. Like, I fought in April and I was married in January, and they wanted me to live in Salinas. My wife was at our apartment in Fairfield. So my manager and coach were like, well, you're going home every weekend. I'm like, yeah, I just got married. You don't think I want to be home? And so they're like, all right, well, we can see that you don't want to be here. I'm like, it's not that I don't want to be here. I just want to be with my family. And so they didn't like that very much. So they literally just like, all right, peace. And what was messed up is like, they didn't tell me as I was going home. They already told me when I already got home. So I already had all my boxing gear over there. So I was like, man, to drive all the way to Salinas. So I was like, and then I was like, you know what? I guess I'm just gonna wait because I don't have a gym to go to anyways, and I'm just running. So by the time I got my gear and everything, I probably ended up only having maybe like 2 weeks of training camp, and I sparred maybe like twice.
Damn, that's hectic, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a bunch of up and downs in my career. I mean, I have 26 fights, and I've had a mess ton of ups and downs.
So that's one of the things I was going to ask you, right? So the last time you fought was in the summer of 2019, right?
Yeah.
So are you retired?
I was retired, or I was thinking. I mean, so after that fight, I was supposed to fight Diego De La Hoya, right before COVID. And then it was like March of 2020. And then everything was shutting down, and they had confirmed with me, oh, we're not shutting down, we're not shutting down. And then Fantasy Springs, like literally the next day, Fantasy Springs called the Golden Boy, yeah, we're shutting down. So they called me, yeah, they're shutting down. So I was supposed to fight him in March of 2020, and then we're supposed to fight one more time with that empty stadium thing. And then they're like, "Oh, well, he's struggling with his weight." So I'm like, "All right." And then the final time, I signed contract and everything, and the next day they're like, "Oh, he can't get his visa." So I'm like, you guys made me hold off, and then they said they were gonna extend my contract, because I was with Golden Boy for 10 years. So I guess they extended it for like 6 more months or something like that. And then, they didn't even try to give me a fight. So they just like, all right, your contract's up. But I mean, it was just, yeah, I mean, so I've been training and then I just like, for a while, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to retire. I've been training for so long. It's like, it's been almost 4 years since I fought. And then, I did that. I did the retirement life. I was, I was still running, but I mean, the only difference was I was just eating a lot. But yeah, and then I called up my coach and I was like, you know what? This life isn't for me.
So you've basically formally decided that you do want to fight again.
Oh yeah, I mean it wasn't I didn't, say I was gonna retire because I didn't want to fight anymore. It's just I didn't want to what I thought would have happened is I probably am right. Like I was training for so long. I feel like I was gonna burn myself out. And by the time I got to the fight, I feel like it was, I would have not want to fight anymore, or not want to do this anymore because all that training, and then finally fighting after 4 years or 3 years. Like I feel like I would probably burn myself out.
Well, maybe it's the kind of thing, right, where you kind of have to miss something to be reminded why you love it or why you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, and of course, like obviously the pandemic was not in your control. That's some of the inactivity with Golden Boy was not in your control. All these things are not in your control. Are you training this whole time?
Yeah, I was training the whole time, and right now I'm training right now. So I mean, yeah, I'm staying busy, staying active.
In the last year or whatever, have there been or however long it's been since you've been off of your Golden Boy contract, have there been opportunities that have come up that you either haven't been able to take or maybe weren't?
Um, I mean, I guess there was one, but I mean, I had decided to come back into the gym a little late. It was closer to me over here at Cash Creek Carter Casino. But I mean, yeah, like I had decided to come back a little later. So I mean, I had showed up to the weigh-ins to talk to the promoter and everything, and just showing up to the weigh-ins, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're fighting, you're fighting." I was like, "No, not in this one." So I mean, it was good to see all those faces wanting to see me fight.
Yeah, I'm sure. Talk to me a little bit about the Joette fight. Obviously, that's a tough fight, but it's one of the bigger names in your division, right? So after that fight happens, is it like are more opportunities coming? Are less opportunities coming? Where did you feel like you were at after that fight?
Um, I mean, so the thing is with that fight was at 126, and the messed up thing about that is, so they flew us out like a week early. They do like the press conferences and stuff. Well, that whole week I wasn't training, and not because I was over there and you can run and stuff, but because I was too light. So I was trying to eat, and for some reason I was just weighing too light. So I weighed in at the scale at 124, and I was like, and I had ate that morning the night before, and I'm like, and then we had decided too, like, man, you know what? 122, win or lose this fight, we're going down to 122. And I mean, it kind of showed me being the smaller opponent in the fight. And you know, yeah, he was the bigger guy, so he got the better hand of me. But we already had decided, and then Golden Boy at the time was like, yeah, we'll go down back to 122 and we'll get those fights in. And then that's where I thought I was gonna, establish myself again at 122, and it just never happened.
So you feel like you're a natural 122 pounder.
Yeah, yeah. Even now, I mean, on my, comeback fight, I'm gonna do a little heavier, but when I start getting, the ring rust and thing, getting myself, back into it like 100%. Yeah, I'll be back at 122.
So I'm genuinely curious because I don't really know how these things work, right? If you're signed with a promoter, in theory they're supposed to be getting you fights. If they don't get you fights, like what is the like how does that play out in real life? Do they just stop calling you? Do they say this fight's going to happen and then it doesn't happen because of whatever? How does that work?
Uh, Shoot, a bunch of legal stuff that I never understood, which is why I got screwed over.
I don't understand that either. It was why
Oh,
I'm
so
asking
like,
you.
so yeah, that's the thing is like on paper, what I was able to read, before the legal terms and stuff, and loopholes that they had put in there, I was guaranteed 4 fights a year for $20,000 a fight. Well, I didn't get those fights, and I didn't get that money. And then after I lost to JoJo, my next fight was like $5,000, and then I had a fight one more after that. It was like I think like $8,000.
And that
So
was not communicated outside of the
yeah,
contract.
exactly. Because we went, oh hey, my contract says, and then they went, oh well, on this part of the contract, it says what we feel like we should pay you. And I'm like, shit, I wouldn't have signed that. But I'm like, it's kind of a lesson learned, I guess. I mean, it was, the when I had lived in Salinas, my manager, she's the one that had negotiated the contract, and I guess he just didn't do a good job.
What do you feel like is the most different about you now as a fighter, as a person, as compared to in 2019, the last time you fought? Because obviously that was a while ago.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because and I mentioned this to my coach a lot. So literally every fight since 2012, and I started my career in 2010. But so I got in a big car accident in 2012 where I couldn't walk for 3 months,
Hmm.
and and then even Golden Boy threatened to drop me at that time because I kept turning down fights, and I'm like, dude, I can't. I just got in a car wreck.
Because you got into a car accident?
Yeah, I got in a car accident.
Wow.
Yeah, so the person behind me was texting and driving. We're at a stoplight, and then it was a truck. I was in a lowered Civic,
Right.
friggin', a Civic Coupe '94. And they hit me, boom, and pushed me onto another truck. So I was like, fuck. I was in the middle of that shit, and I was like, I couldn't walk like for like 3 months, and like the fourth month, they're like, all right, either you take this fight or we're dropping you. And I'm like, all right. And then I had to go to like the physical therapy, and I just, they had to release me for me to fight. And then they're like, that's funny. Like you feel better all of a sudden, like one day to the next. And I'm like, yeah, I just feel better. So I had to lie to the doctor, and then I ended up fighting, and I was stiff as hell, man. I was like, I couldn't fight. I mean, I still won the fight, but I was like, it was just not good for me. And then since then, I just stayed training. I never took the time off to rest, and my back never healed up. And then I had multiple injuries, and then I think now after since 2019 and with this whole COVID situation and then me taking a little bit of time off, I was like, this is the first time where I'm training and I have no aches and pains.
So you feel like this will kind of be the first time maybe that you'll be healthy and people see you fight for the first time in basically 10 years.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was like, I told my coach, like, I feel like I went back in time, man. I was like, I feel younger than what I did when I fought, JoJo Diaz and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah, bro. I mean, to a much lesser extent, like I've had a bunch of injuries myself and not feeling healthy now. I'm like, damn, I feel like I'm going back. I feel like I'm aging back because at 18, I was like, in a sling and shit.
yeah,
So I know how that shit goes, bro. That's crazy to me that you got into a car accident and on the fourth month, they were like, take this fight or bust. That's
yeah,
crazy.
exactly. I
It
mean,
should.
and the thing is, the first fight too that they had offered me, it wasn't even their show because the thing is too at that time, which is very rare. Uh, Dude, I was fighting in Fairfield, which is my hometown. I was fighting in Vacaville, which is the town over which I was training at the time. I was fighting in Woodland, which is like super close to my town. And then so I was fighting super close to my hometown. So I was like selling all these tickets and stuff. And so that fight was through another promotion, which is the promoter that I was talking to now. And so the first fight that they technically offered me or that I turned down was his fight. So it wasn't even like a Golden Boy fight. I know it was a co-promotion thing that they had his name on because they're all televised. And all my fights were televised. I think my second fight wasn't, and then like a random like fifth fight wasn't. But like most of my fights, like I have, like I said, 26 fights. I think maybe four maybe five are not televised. So it's like, I mean, for me, that's like a super rare thing, especially from coming from where I'm from and, not having the name that I had, no big amateur background, no, Olympic friggin' background. So, I mean, but yeah, I turned down one of, the local fights that was on TV and they considered it as I turned down one of their fights just because it was their co-promotion.
How did that come about that you were able to get, all of these televised opportunities early in your career without, like you said, having an extensive amateur background or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of weird. I mean, so the promoter that was so it was a Don Chargin promotion, and I guess he was good in good terms with Golden Boy, so they kind of worked something out. And then another guy was co-promoting with him as well, which is Paco Presents. And it just somehow I don't even know how it came about that they threw my name in there and they're like, yeah, let's start getting these fights in Fairfield. And what was crazy was the only reason they stopped doing fights in Fairfield is because the last fight we had, the fights almost got shut down before I even fought because they oversold the tickets and people were just trying to rush in. The fire department was out there trying to like get everybody out, and I was like, it was just a mess. So they're like, yeah, yeah, no more Fairfield fights. It was like they're like at that time, like, yeah, your name's getting too big for these smaller, venues.
So you were drawing really big audiences.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was, everybody from Fairfield was coming out to support me, and then we had another fighter. I mean, he had like a 5 fight contract with Golden Boy too. He was from Fairfield, so I mean, with me and him, we're just drawing all these people. But I mean, I was like the main event or the co-main event every time
Who were some of the other guys from your area that you kind of looked up to coming up?
in my area.
Or were you kind of a trailblazer?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? So sure, even like probably like after like even like 5 years into being pro, I never really watched boxing. It was just like I just like to do it. It was the same thing when I played, baseball and soccer. I never really watched it unless it was live. I didn't have I just like doing it. But yeah, after like 5 years, maybe even more, yeah, that's when I started watching boxing. And then it was more like Roy Jones Jr., which, that was the only person I really looked up to at the time.
So there was not like another regional fighter or another guy from your part of California that was like somebody that you looked at. But I know a lot of fighters like that too that are kind of just like in their work and they're not super aware of, the rest of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, there was one dude I looked up to him, but he was out of my gym and he went pro. I think he was like 8-1 or something like that. And he got signed to like can't remember what promotion. And then he ended up going to like Vegas and stuff. And then he got to like 8-0. And then they set him up with this like dude that was like 14-0 with like 14 knockouts or something. And I don't remember if he got knocked out or he got like, he lost bad or something like that. But I mean, I had looked up to him and then he took off. And then it was crazy because after that fight, he goes, yeah, you know what, I'm done. And then he tried making a comeback, and then I got the chance to spar him when he tried making his comeback, and then I just beat the living hell out of him, and he's like, you know what, maybe I'm not coming back. you know,
So you stopped this comeback.
yeah, unfortunately I did, which was funny because I remember I watched him, as an amateur too. There was a bunch of guys that, oh, this is my last fight, and then I'm turning pro, and then he would beat the hell out of them, and they're like, oh, it looks like I got a few more things to work out before I turn pro, and then it's like, and then it turns into me beating the hell out of him. He's like, yeah, I guess I'm not coming back.
Talk to me real quick about my guy Lukey. He's a very interesting cat in this sport. Me and him have gotten to do a lot of podcasts together, a lot of hours on the mic together. Talk to me about how you met him.
Bro, I have bad memory, but I know I met him through Andy Vence's. Because I remember he used to do a lot of videos on him, and I don't even think I approached him. I think it was my coach that approached him, which is Phil Mondello. At the time, he was just my cut man, but I think he approached him and he's like, "Hey, you guys, he has like a fight coming up, or I can't remember exactly how it goes." He's the one with a good memory, so he can remember the last time he, did something at 5 years old. And so I was like, but Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's how it was. Like me and Andy were training at the same time, or maybe on the same card. Because I remember Andy was on a bunch of my undercards too, as well. So it might have been something towards that. I mean, but yeah, I've known him for probably most of my career too, my professional career. So I mean, and he's been a good friend, and so he's cool because it's not just boxing with him. We actually talk about other stuff.
Yeah, he's a real motherfucker, bro. And there's a lot of people in this sport that are not real. They're very much transactional.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you deal with that all the time, man. So yeah, people, especially you've known for long times, and then all of a sudden they just, even if they don't accomplish nothing themselves, they're like, oh well, this guy's accomplishing a little too much. So I don't want to help him out anymore. It's like, how does that make any sense, bro? Like I'm trying to help you out too, but yeah.
What do you think about 122 right now, since that's the division you're
Oh,
coming
I'm
back?
excited for 122 right now. I mean, before too, like when I had my last fight at 122, that's when I had won my first
Which
interim
was
belt,
when? Which was when?
2015. Yeah. And it was crazy too because so I had fought this dude, Yandor Salinas, and he was from like Cuba. Golden Boy had just signed him because he had gone a draw with Scott Quigg at that time. So the Golden Boy signed him, and then he was gonna fight me, and then he was the A side, I was the B side. So they're like, all right, and then they're like, oh, this guy's gonna beat me, and then the contract was gonna be up because that was my last fight before the contract. Well, I ended up beating the hell out of him. I stopped him in the sixth round. He didn't come out of the off the stool on the sixth round. He didn't fight for 7 years, so he just fought last year after that fight. So I'm like, damn, I retired this fool, or at least I thought I did, but he ended up making a comeback 7 years later. I'm like, so I mean, yeah, it was a crazy fight, but yeah, dude, that was my last fight at 122 pounds, and then I mean, I wasn't as excited. At that time, I was looking at more like Nonito Donaire. But yeah, I mean, 122 pounds at that time wasn't as stacked as it is now. Now it's like, damn, this class is getting exciting. Especially
Especially
like,
especially with Inoue moving up.
anyway, just hopped in. I was just talking to my coach's grandson about this, and yeah, dude, yeah, he hopped in the freaking division, fighting Stephen Fulton. So like, hell yeah, bro! Like this is gonna be a cool one.
Because not every division has like a superstar, right? So like if a Canelo moves up to 168, now 168 is real popping. With Inoue moving up to 122, it's like there's going to be a lot of people that either move up or down, to
Yeah,
try to get big fights at 122.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, which is cool because I mean, that means I mean I'll be making more money probably moving back down to 122 with Inoue coming in now. So I mean it'll help me out. And then just seeing people, I was like, oh, this guy's at 122. Let's throw his name in there and start getting him more fights. Maybe we can match him up. Or so I remember they did that. What was it, the Super Six with Andre Ward? I was like, shit, we should start doing something like that now. I was like, so we don't have to deal with this whole like how Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence situation. Like, oh, you know what? We'll do title eliminators, and then all of a sudden the last two people, they're freaking unified.
Well, they did a version of that at 118, the World Boxing.
Yeah, that's when Nolito Donaire got knocked out by yeah. But it
Well,
was
I
a
think the first fight was the conclusion of that tournament, the one where they went the distance,
oh, okay. No,
and then they rematched after the pandemic.
yeah, but with the first one it was the decision right before the tournament, right?
No, I think the first one was a part of the tournament. It was like the final fight of the tournament.
And then just recontinue. Probably, yeah, I guess they're probably shorthanded with people and he's like, I'll take the fight again or something. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the whole tournament situation thing, yeah, because it was just, tournament and then all of a sudden just cut. you
But
know.
but those tournaments help, bro. Like they kind of help to enforce, if you had something like that now at one of these money divisions, like think about back then it was Andre Ward and Carl Froch and
Yeah.
Kessler. I'm trying to think of who else was in that, but it was the best guys at that weight at the time. And it was
Yeah.
like there's nowhere to hide now.
Yeah, I mean that's I feel like that's what they should do anyways, man. So that way, like I said, people aren't just holding up, belts. It's like, and then or you're not oh well, I won the belt. Yeah, but it was a vacant belt. Like you didn't really win it. You know, it was like you didn't beat the champion. You know, you beat someone else that, was he worth the fight or not? You know, so it's like you can't really say, oh yeah, well I became champion by beating the champion. No, you got a vacant belt. Which I mean, sometimes it's like there's no option because the dude's like, oh, you know what? I'm struggling with this weight, so I'm moving up. All right, you can't just be like, no, you got to fight at until you lose it. No, it's they move up. All right, cool, that's different. But because the dude didn't want to fight and he vacated it, it's like, well, yeah, the dude's still there, and you haven't beat him. So it's like, yeah, I mean, that would help out like freaking boxing so much too.
So I was gonna ask you this too, bro. What do you think about um, you know, a smaller guy like Nonito Donaire? He's fought his whole career at 122, 126. And then now later in his career, he's moved down to 118. And I've even seen him say in interviews that he could get down to 115. How is that possible that a guy is able to get lower and lower in weight as their career goes on?
You know what? When I first met him, because I mean, when I first met him, I started sparring him because we were signed by the same manager, Cameron Duncan, and so Cameron had me spar him because he wanted to know these little to be like, hey, let me know how this dude was, and he was struggling with weight, bro. Like, and I think he was fighting at 122 at the time. 120, yeah, he was at 122 at the time. It was 2010 and or 2011. I already had my pro debut, and I'm like, damn, dude. And then I heard that he was going to 118. Then I seen that interview. He's like, oh yeah, I can make 115. The money must be there, bro. I'm like, I don't know, because like unless like he was just more motivated now than he was younger. I mean, I don't know the situation, but before it looked like because when I sparred him, he was getting gassed out. I mean, he was probably like not in training shape, but
He looks like his discipline has gotten better as he's gotten older, but that's just like such a crazy concept to me that somebody in their late 30s, 40s is going to move down one, two,
yeah,
three weight
I
classes.
think that's all it is dude. Like, he just discipline just got way better. And then, I mean, he probably just relied on his talent and he's like, oh, you know what? I can train semi hard, beat these guys, and then, I have the good enough talent to beat these guys, and then, which is why I caught on to him, when he fought anyway those two times, it's like, I was like, yeah, dude, like, you finally decided to get disciplined when this dude is disciplined like his whole freaking life.
Did you get to do a lot of sparring with Nonito?
No, he's part of like twice.
What obviously, you said he was gassing out a little bit, but was there anything from sparring him that you were like, wow, this guy's really different, or anything that you learned from sparring from with him?
I mean, I didn't really learn from sparring. I learned that my jab was dominating even upper class fighters. He was still struggling with my jab because my jab, I mean, at that time too, I was throwing like double, triple jabs, I mean four jabs at a time, and that stops anybody. But like I said, he wasn't really like ever in like fighting shape. It looked like he just like that was like his first day coming back, and Cameron had just set it up just to see where I was at. Um, but I mean, yeah, and he even like was telling me that, like, dude, your jab, bro, like it's something different. But he played like a lot of like tricks on me, during sparring, like he would bend down. So I was like, all right, I'm taking a break because he's bending down, and he would hit me. I'm like, like all right. So like he kind of showed me like, yeah, that whole protect yourself at all times situation, even during sparring. So
It was more so that he was like crafty.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was really crafty. I mean, even out of all the fights that I've had, like he was the most crafty person I ever like went up against.
We're gonna bring this fool in real quick. Hold on one second. Let's see if this works.
Oh, he's
Oh my god, we get you fucking bedridden, dude. How come one out of every 5 times I podcast with you, you're in bed, son?
I'm really tired, bro. What's up with my guy Tino?
What's up, bro?
I'm
Bro,
so tired.
we've been rapping, bro.
Yeah, Tino's the best, bro. Hey, Tino, did you tell him the story about JoJo with Albert
I,
Torres?
I told him I came up short on that fight, but I didn't tell him the whole
Tell him
spill.
the real story, bro. Give him the.
I mean, that's a long story. Everything that could go wrong went wrong for that training camp. So, I
But
had
start with that. Start with the sparring first day of camp.
well, it was my second day of camp.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first day was, I had went 14 rounds with Victor Pasillas because nobody was stopping them. Everyone was just enjoying the action. So we went last time. So we went 14 rounds sparring, me and Victor Pasillas. We're going at it. And me and him were amateur rivals. I had fought him twice. The first time he beat the hell out of me. I was 11-0, and he was like 100 and something or 200 and something and whatever. And he beat the hell out of me. The second time I ended up dropping him, and I had won the fight, but they gave him the decision. So me and him went 14 rounds. He was in San Leandro at the time at the snack gym or something like that. I think that's what it was. And we went 14 rounds. Everyone was just enjoying it because we're just
San
going.
Carlos. I'm just clarifying.
Where was that?
It's in San Carlos.
Oh, San Carlos. I mean, I remember it. It was shit, bro. How long ago was it? 7 years ago. I told you he remembers everything.
We don't got to put a number on it, but I remember. Well, I remember it too because when Tino got this fight, this was like one of the biggest moments of anyone that around me had ever gotten a moment. This was massive. No one had been on paper. But keep going, Tino.
Yeah. So that was my first day. So we're like everybody, and then after that, I was like, shit, I just did 14 rounds and I'm fucking feeling good. Like I'm fired up. But it could have been because he was my rival. I don't know. But and then yeah, my second day, we go to Sacramento and we go spar my boy. I've sparred him for most of my career. And like the second round, boom, he catches me and splits my eye, sparring. And I'm like, fuck. And then they're like, you know what? We're gonna cancel the fight. I was like, no, no, no. I was like, I can still beat this dude. Like, I got this. I was like, yeah, I got this. I was like, I got this fight. Like, don't worry about it. I don't need the sparring. I felt that good, like, but then again, I had just got done sparring, so there was adrenaline in me. And then,
Right.
as the fighter, I always want to fight. Of course I want to fight. So it was like, all right. So we continue, and then so I was doing a lot of, running and stuff. Then I ended up busting up my knee where I couldn't even run anymore. That's it. We're calling the fight. And I said, no, 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 I got this. So I started doing a bunch like the suicide bike and, so I was like, all right. And dude, even with the suicide bike and all the bag drills and pad and, conditioning stuff that I was doing, I was probably at, the best shape that I've ever been in physically. And, and mentally, I was like, bro, like, I got this, weigh-ins, bro. I made weight. That was like the easiest weight cut I've ever had. Like, bro,
He made weight so good, bro. Like he was talking to us. Like we were in a back room at MGM Dakota, and Tino might remember this, he might not, but we were in this back room, and every fighter was like not talking, and Tino was chilling, bro, because he made weight so smooth. Like, do you remember that, Tino, when we were in that back room before you
yeah,
went
yeah,
to
yeah, everybody was just like zombie, bro. And I was like, bro, I'm like walking around like hella juice. Me and Luke were just bullshitting and stuff. Then I got to, meet Roy Jones Jr. So I was even more juiced. And then
tell him about that? That was like when Roy interviewed you. It was Roy, Kellerman, and Lampley.
yeah. I mean, I was juiced because I was like the second time, like that was the first time I spoke to him. The second time I met him, the first time it was when I won my belt. I just took a picture with him real quick and he took off. But yeah, he interviewed me and he's like, bro, he was asking me some questions. I can't really remember, but I remember one thing stuck with me because when I was an amateur, I had, like 50 something fights, like 30 knockouts. And then, as an amateur, that's kind of like unheard of. And then he's like, shit, well, why'd you change? I was like, well, I kind of went more boxer mode because, I wanted to make sure I got fights. He goes, well, shit, man, now's the time to go into fucking puncher mode. He goes, and I'm like, yeah, well, it is. So, I mean, that was not the game plan, but it was, to show more power. But yeah, like I made weight so easy for that fight. Dude, like hours after the weigh-ins, I still hadn't eaten because I wasn't hungry yet. I'm like, you know what? I'll eat when I'm hungry. Well, my dad was like flipping out. He goes, no, 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 you gotta eat, you gotta eat. And the worst, I mean, this is probably.
But we gotta clarify, where was Lukey and Phil? Where did Lukey and Phil go? We didn't eat with you guys.
No, you guys didn't eat with us. You guys were like at a sandwich shop, right?
We went to a sandwich shop because we said we don't trust
I
those
should have where I
buffets.
should have gone because I always eating either sandwiches or pancakes. Well, we went to a buffet because my dad was freaking out, and this was the shortest line that there was. And the buffet, dude, it was like 100 and something bucks a person. So my dad's like, no, screw it, we're paying it. And yeah, bro, I got food poisoning.
So this is all for the Jojo Diaz fight.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got a cut eye day 3 of training camp. You got a fucked up knee somewhere in there from running too
Well,
much,
you're
and
not
then
even
food
like,
poisoning the night before.
but
yeah.
Dakota, you got to also remember we get. I don't know when Tino got there, maybe Tuesday, but then it's like there's a media workout. Tino has a cut over his eye, so he has to do the shadow boxing stuff, and he has to do his interview, and then just basically leave because there's a cut over his eye. We're trying to keep that under wraps. There's like a press conference. I still got the photos of that. Like, there's a lot of steps to where we're going. And at that time, each step is pretty stressful. And Tino was passing those checkpoints, and we're like, okay, he made weight. He feels good. And then the freaking buffet got him.
Yeah, buffets are fucking dangerous, bro.
Yeah, and I mean, we've
Did you feel like the knee affected you in the fight at all?
no, I mean, I felt pretty strong. I mean, because like I was doing a lot of like cycling stuff, so I mean, I felt like it got stronger throughout the training camp, but we just didn't want to take the risk of trying to go run again, jack it up more. So I mean, I felt good. That wasn't a whole thing. It's just well, after like round 5, my legs were like gone. And the thing is where I messed up and my dad messed up because my dad knew that I had the food poisoning, but my corner didn't. I didn't tell anybody until after the fight because I was like, what am I gonna do? Well, they're like, well, we could have, gave you more carbs. We could have done this. We could have given you more Pedialyte. I was like, oh, I was drinking Gatorade. I was like, yeah, but you got to do like a whole like little cycle to kind of get your energy back in. And I'm like, well, I just thought like, well, I'm shit out of luck. This is what it is. It's like, I can't. It's not like I can do anything about it. I can't cancel the fight. It's the day of the fight. And but yeah, so they're like, so it was my fault too. And then they're like, yeah, because we wouldn't have made you sit down every freaking round. We would have had you stand up, make sure your legs are freaking moving. And I'm like, well, I mean, I didn't know how all this went into it, but yeah, after like round 5, like going into like round 6, my legs are like gone. And I remember I slipped in like round 4 or 5, and I told my dad, I was like, if it would have been like round 6, I wouldn't have been able to get back up. I slipped. I was like, I wouldn't have been able to get back up. My legs were gone. And I was like, and then it was just a learning experience too. I mean, it was fun, but it was a learning
Do you still
experience.
run generally?
Oh yeah, I love running, bro. After that fight, I continued running again. So what it was is this is the first time I started running on a track. So what happened was, I guess my knee, didn't like the whole running in a circle. So what happened was at the end of my knee kind of started like having problems. So every time I would step on it, it would like, I don't know, not want to buckle, but it just had that pain because of turning so much.
Right.
I was at the time I was running maybe like 10 miles a day. So we were taking that onto like a track and then doing sprints. So it's like running, I think we ended up going like 4 miles on the track and then like maybe 2.5 mile sprints. Well,
Right.
like straights and then sprint, that whole, stop and go thing. And so I think that just kind of jacked up my knees, the whole track situation.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just more so my opinion, having like been in gyms and trained guys a little bit. It seems like just depending on your body type or how your body reacts to it, that running is sometimes more damage than help. Just because you're just pounding on your knees and your hips for, especially less so with sprinting, longer distance running, you're just pounding your knees and your joints. And then I noticed a lot of older fighters, right? They'll be on the elliptical, they'll be on the bike, they'll go on bikes outside, they'll walk hills. There's like all these different ways that older guys are doing it. So I'm like, well, what if younger guys started doing that? Would their knees last longer? Would other stuff last a little longer? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, me, so I enjoy the bike, bro. I was like, I remember when I had this fixie bike, so there's no brakes on that thing, so it's just pedal and like it's like those exercise bikes. It's like
Yeah.
as long as that wheel's moving, so are the pedals. So you're going up and downhill, and those pedals are moving, so there's no stopping. I was like, you can hit the brake, but that brake ain't gonna stop those pedals. So I had a fixie bike and I was doing like 14 miles on that thing, but I was still running at the same time just because I love running. But I was just trying to get that extra conditioning, you know. So I was like, it was, you know. I mean, I'd probably recommend a bike, and I've even like when my wife was working out and stuff, she decided to buy a treadmill, but I told her to buy a bike because it's just so much better.
Bro, any thought on Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez?
Uh, Bro, to be honest, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Benavidez is just probably gonna end up walking him down, and I think Benavidez is just gonna try to prove a point too and try to freaking stop him faster than Canelo did. I mean that's the only thing is I mean Caleb Plant is he's more closer to the washed up side now. You
You
know
think
he
so?
I think so. I mean yeah he has that like he's slowing down. I mean I get like you get another victory and stuff and by big and but it's like no, I mean he doesn't look the same. I understand. Like, yeah, you get that win, but you don't look the same after that Canelo fight. He's
He wasn't very active in the Durrell fight. They both did a lot of looking and waiting.
exactly. It's like yeah, you just because you get the win, but yeah, you can see like oh shit, like he's like having flashbacks or something. Like he's like yeah, he goes man, he goes, but I mean it's a different opponent. Like I mean he just it just looked like mentally he wasn't there anymore. I mean it could have been now he's like all right, I got that win. Now it's just a different mode, but I mean I just feel like maybe he's not. He can surprise me too. I mean, this is boxing, bro. Fucking one punch changes everything.
This is the only I definitely favor David heavy, but I always try to play out like both sides of a fight when I'm thinking about it. I feel like the argument for Caleb is that we haven't really seen Benavidez fight a guy that can really box and move. So then how does he respond if he misses a bunch or if
Well,
he tries a thing and
so
it doesn't work?
Benavidez, I can't remember if it was his last fight or the fight before. He was getting sloppy, bro. Like Benavidez for like the level that he's at, trying to calling out Canelo. I was like, bro, he was getting sloppy for the fight. And I know it was like an easier opponent too. I can't remember who it was, bro. I'm like, bro, I was like, everybody's like, yeah, bro, Benavidez. I'm like, bro, he looks sloppy. And I'm like, and if that Benavidez shows up, Caleb Plant just might just outbox the hell out of him because he would probably be able to see all those sloppy punches coming. I was like, yeah, some of them
Right.
might come hard, but it just depends on what Benavidez shows up. I was like,
And I think it's different for him to get combinations like that off if he's fighting Angulo or he's fighting David Lemieux or he's
yeah,
fighting these more stationary aggressive fighters. I just think Caleb has a level of savvy that Benavidez hasn't had to deal with yet. I think he can deal with it and I think he'll win, but we're going to find out more about him because even Canelo missed Caleb a bunch, but he has that IQ and that discipline where it's like I'm just going to keep at it. The pressure is going to build up, the body shots are going to build up. Does David have that same patience?
that's the thing. Is he gonna get frustrated or is he gonna just try to or yeah get sloppy and just try to knock him out because he's missing so much? Like yeah, that I mean that's it just depends on Benavidez. Like the whole fight just depends on Benavidez. Like it's either
Well, and also too, bro, if Caleb's not as active like he was in the last fight, I think it's hard for him. I can't see him keeping David off.
that's the thing too. And if he's gonna be gun shy, bro, like yeah, what do you have? You have nothing to last. The extra rounds.
Exactly. But that's why it's a great matchup because I think both guys have something that could give the other guy problems. I also think it's possible that David is like a top pound for pound level guy, and this could be a moment for him to show that.
Yeah, I mean yeah, but yeah, it's. I mean, I think the fight more depends on Benavidez than Plant. Yeah, I think I say that because I think more people are coming to watch Benavidez than Plant. Plant is just the opponent. I'm sure his fan base isn't even nearly as big as Benavidez. So it's like, it's on Benavidez to not only make himself look good, but to make the show, to to make Caleb Plant look bad, to show that, oh, he beat Plant better than Canelo did, or he outboxed Plant better, something like he has to prove his point. He's at that level. So yeah, he has to prove his point. He has to give a show.
Right. And if he walks through him and kicks his ass, he makes that point because Caleb's, outboxed everybody that he's fought except Canelo.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, I mean, that's why I say it's on Benavidez. Yeah, I mean, Caleb Plant's in that fight too, but I mean, what Benavidez is gonna show up is gonna, because it just depends on what Benavidez shows up as well. Because if the on point strict Benavidez shows up, no matter what Caleb Plant shows up, there's no chance of Caleb Plant winning. But if they're like, oh well, this guy got knocked out by Canelo, he looks slow, and so I can kind of take it easy. Benavidez shows up. If Plant's working his ass off trying to get that back to that those big paydays again, he's like, he might slip away with a split decision victory, or freaking, or even a big decision victory, just an upset. It's just, it all depends on Benavidez, bro.
Do you have any sense for yourself of when you'll be back in the ring, or is it just more so like you've made the decision, you're in training, and you're looking?
Yeah, well, so we're working on something. So we're supposed to have a fight in February at the Cash Creek Casino, um, near Sacramento, and then but they wanted it to be top ranked ESPN. But the problem with that was they wanted Jose Ramirez to fight on that card, and they're like, Jose Ramirez is selling out 15,000 people in Fresno. This place doesn't even hold 1,500 people. So, and they're like, and his like to pay him, his minimum is like $1.1 million. So like, they're like, no, that's just a
Yeah, you're
no.
not gonna be able to get somebody like that on a big club show.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just have him, and that's it. Just him. And then so then they said March for Showbox. Well, it was like March 24th, and then they called up Baco, the promoter, and they're like, hell no, we're not going up against March Madness. And he's like, oh shit, dude, like, yeah, March Madness. He goes, that thing is huge. He goes, yeah. He goes, we're not gonna compete with March Madness, and we're not doing any TV spots against March Madness. So then that fell out. So he called me up. He was like, well, what do you think about Tijuana? I'm like, bro, I don't care where I fight. I can fight in your backyard, bro. They'll fight. He's all right. Well, we'll set something up. So I mean, you're the first person to hear this, but yeah. So we're setting some up. He's getting everything ready. So February 14th will be my comeback fight, or 17th, February 17th.
And that's official. That's ready to go.
Yeah, that's ready. I mean, I don't have an opponent yet, but I mean, like I said, I don't care who it is, so it makes it a little bit easier. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be a fighter that's going to be hard to beat. It's going to be I haven't fought in 3.5 years or plus, so it's like it's going to be some dude. And he told me, he was like, I'm going to give you a dude that you can either give a show, but I'm not going to give you anybody that's going to lay down and whenever you throw a punch. I mean, I was like, I don't care. I was like, bro, I don't care who I fight. I was like, I don't care, where it's at. So yeah, so that's he's getting the I guess he's gonna set it up on BoxRec, I think tomorrow or early next week. But yeah, he's getting my plane tickets and stuff ready. So
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome.
yeah. So I'm
So
excited.
at this point in your career, obviously you're just coming from beginning your comeback, right? But what would be like your dream fight, or what's sort of where do you see the rest of your career going, or this second half of your career going?
Um, you know what? Looking at least to get those title shots, bro. Like whether it's against Inoue or title eliminator, or against Fulton or the other dude. I don't know. I can't pronounce the name, bro. But the other,
Rais Salim.
yeah, bro, I can't pronounce the name. I was like,
He's a good fighter.
yeah. I mean, I've had my eye on him before I retired, but I mean, I feel like I was like, I can hang with those dudes. In a way, would be, I'm not saying he would be the hardest fight, but he would be the most to challenge me, as in to use all my abilities instead of just learning to use, my angles or try to outbox him. I gotta unload sometimes. I gotta outbox sometimes. I gotta use every aspect I got, like and not only that, I just gotta train my ass off for that fight too. So I mean, I'm just excited to be at 122 pounds again. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna be back at 122 for this fight, but yeah, dude. I mean, yeah, hopefully get like at least back into like a title eliminator or a shot at the title. That's where I see myself. At least at the back half of me right now.
Well, shit, bro. There's not a lot of guys saying they want to fight Raif Salim. So
I'll fight him after good 3-4 fights, bro. Shit, I don't care. I mean, I already know once I get a good amount of fights back in, I'll be 100% ready to go. So, I mean, I'm not scared of anybody. If I was, why would I freaking sign up for this sport?
do you feel like you'll have like a size and a strength advantage?
Size, yes. Strength, uh, I mean, this will be with my. I mean, I feel stronger. So, I mean, but I'm not. I can say, yeah, I have the strength advantage, but I mean, I've never really known much about the dude that he's fought. I mean, I know he doesn't have that many knockouts and stuff, and
I mean,
I've
in
always
general, just when you fight at 122 and as you start moving up your levels, like, do you feel like that'll be an advantage for you? Is the fact that Inoue has been at 115, 118? A lot of these guys have moved up to this weight, whereas you're, a naturally bigger guy coming down.
yeah. I mean, well, especially you know coming back, bro. I was heavy, so yeah, I'm coming down from way up there. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna be at least the heavier dude coming into the ring. So I feel like yeah, I'll be the more naturally stronger guy in the ring. I mean, like as long as my conditioning's there, which I'm gonna make sure it's always there, and then I'm mentally ready. Which, bro, I'm ready for the world right now. So yeah, it's there.
I guess the last thing I want to ask you is because you mentioned Spence and Crawford, right? There's a lot of issues right now in boxing where like the most meaningful fights aren't generally getting made. There's good fights that get made, but if you put the best 10 fights in boxing, I don't think one of them is signed right now. In your mind as a fighter, right? Do you really think that there's fighters out there that are like, nah, I don't want to fight him? Is it a team thing? Like, what do you think where do you think those things come from? Or are there fighters that are, just savvy businessmen and are more choosy? Like, how do you view that?
uh, I think everybody. So here's the thing. Everybody wants that 60-40 split, but who wants the 60? Who gets the 60? Who gets the 40? Well, oh, I'm the better fighter, so I get the. Well, no, but I have these. So what? So I mean, I'm just saying this right now because I probably won't even have the say of it. But once I get a title fight, I was like, and I win that title, whether it's one belt, two belts, all belts, I want to do a 40-40 split. When I don't care that I have one belt, all the belts, it don't matter. I say whoever I'm fighting, unless it's like the dude has two belts, I have one belt. I understand you want to do a 60-40 split, bro. I just want to make the fight. I'll take the 40%. But if you know I'm the champion and you're fighting, you're the challenger, like you want to make the fight, all right, 40-40. Winner gets the other 20. Like let's make it happen. I was like, there's no, oh, I'm the better fighter. So I was like, let's prove it. You're really confident that you're the better fighter? The winner gets the other 20%. Like easy as that.
Right. And in a lot of other sports too, right? Like if you play a golf tournament or whatever, the higher in the ranking, the more money you get, right? So
Yeah,
you know, it'll be interesting to see the outcome actually affect the money of the fight.
yeah, exactly. But the thing is too is like, watch you'll see it. Watch when I become champion one day, bro. Like you're gonna see that contract, and then if they decide to turn it down, they're like, well, what's the issue? I was like, you don't think you can beat them because if you beat them, you get 60%.
You're getting the champion's rate if you beat me.
Exactly. I'm the champion. I was like, because because even like when you fight Canelo, bro, it's not like a 60-40 split. You're getting like fucking 20% damn near, you know. So it's like, like you want to prove your point, sure. You it's easy, bro. Beat
I
me.
like the way you put that though, where you're like everybody wants to do a 60-40. Like everybody wants to like come to the table as I'm the guy, you're the
Yeah,
opponent. And it's so rare that you go, well, we don't have a super fight without both of us.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
if you're Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence, it's like what other fight is going to generate the level of excitement that fighting each other generates, even if one
Exactly.
of you is more popular than the other.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. Is like that's that's probably the biggest super fight that we could have right now. You know, so it's like, I mean, who? I was like, yeah, I get you want your 60%, bro. You think you deserve your 60%? Yeah, there's the 40-40. You get your 60 when you win.
I
Yeah,
guess as a fan too, that's why it's so confusing because you see guys, these two guys just cannot get a fight together. But when Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder decided they wanted to fight, that shit got made fast, bro.
yeah. Well, I mean, freaking Fury was freaking on a mission, bro. He wanted freaking Wilder. That's why, you know.
And that's where I wonder sometimes is it the fighters? And I'm always like defend the fighters, but when a
Well,
fight gets that
I
big,
mean, yeah. I mean, there's so many things because it's like the contract goes through so many hands before it actually reaches the
yeah,
fighters too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, before it goes to you know, so it depends. Like, all right, this promoter is offering it, so it's gonna go to the promoter first. Oh well, this promoter doesn't like that deal, so it hasn't even reached the manager yet. So they got to go to the promoter first. Oh, okay, now it's going to the manager. Well, now the manager's not liking this deal.
Right.
So
I never thought of that. There's so many layers, there's so many like walls that the contract has to get through before you even see it.
exactly. So it's
Yeah.
going to the promoter, is from promoter to promoter. Then it's going to the manager, and then from the manager, the coach still has to see it. Because like this is my fighter, I'm here to protect him. But I mean, if the coach cares about his fighter, if he doesn't, he just like, oh, sign the contract. But yeah, so it's gonna go to the coach, and not only that, it's like when it comes to the fighter, it's like me, like I gotta sit down with my wife. Like, is it worth this fight? Like,
Right.
is it worth, this is a 50-50 shot. Like, is it worth this money? Or is it worth this, not having a rematch clause because it's a 50-50, like, is this contract worth it? So it's like even when it comes, so even though it comes to me as the family man first before it comes to me as a fighter.
And
So
unless you're a Floyd or a Roy or a De La Hoya, you're not in the room for every layer of those
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
decisions.
yeah.
Unless everything is perfect, you're not going to see it until everybody else has it how they like it.
Exactly, bro. And me, I mean, even like say I start my own promotion and I'm fighting under my own promotion. Well, even if I'm fighting under my own promotion, I'm gonna have people working on that for me. I'm just a fighter. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be making more money, but I'm just a fighter. You make sure the fight happens. That's it. Oh, he wants more money? All right, I'll take a pay cut. Let's make the fight happen. 60, the 40-40, bro. Let's do 40-40. Screw it. Like make it happen.
And you never hear a 55-45. You know what I mean? Like you never hear a 53-47.
No, no. Yeah, I mean they want um but I mean then again, I mean, I don't know. Cause then yeah, it's 60-40, but how much does the fighter actually get after that, with the sanctioning fees and paying their cut man and cornerman and after everything else and taxes, putting some money aside for taxes, and it's like, well, bro, I got some kind of money.
Well, listen, bro, this has been a great fucking episode. I really appreciate you coming on, man. Before we wrap it up, is there anyone, anything, anywhere that you want to shout out?
um well, I mean, shout out to you and Lukey, bro. I mean, you guys got me back on. I've had an interview in bro, like 3-4 years. So I mean, it's good. I mean, I appreciate you guys, taking the time out and having me on.
Of
you know.
course, bro. We
Yeah,
don't we don't get anywhere unless you guys come on.
yeah. I try to hop on your guys' podcast every once in a while. You'll see me, commenting on it some every once in a while. Then then I get busy with my kids. I'll hop off, but but yeah, but I mean, I appreciate you guys, man. Like, because the thing is, yeah, it's not. I was like, yeah, the boxers. I mean, I'm old school, so I mean, I like to, that's why I don't have social media, bro. I mean, unfortunately, I mean, I tried social media, then I got hacked, and I don't know how to figure that shit out. So, uh, I just said whatever, leave it. Um, but yeah, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't get the publicity we get now. People wouldn't find out that I'm coming back because even until now, I haven't really like officially announced it. And then now I'm officially announcing it on your podcast and I'm having a fight date. So it's like, you get 2 for 1, bro.
Hell yeah. Well, I really appreciate it, dude. Is there anywhere, I know you say you don't have social, but is there anywhere online that people can go to support you or your gym or
I,
anything that
I
you're
mean,
doing?
I have a YouTube thing. I mean, so because I do a lot of driving. So like I drive like so I used to live hella far from my gym. So I was driving like 4 hours a day just to get to my gym and back. Now I'm driving 3 hours a day, which is a little bit better. But so I mean, I'll be posting like random ass videos, just me talking, or like say like you have a question for me about like, oh, you watch, oh, I watched some of your footage about this fight. So then I'll answer the question on that, like almost like a podcast, but I just talk to myself and answer the question. And I was talking this to one of my friends today, like well, yeah, sometimes I'll do like the screen recording thing, so I'll do like a Snapchat filter, so I have like the beard or something, or or funky Snapchat filter while I'm recording and driving, and just talking about bullshit, talking about fight experiences, talking about toughest fight, just random stuff. I mean, it's yeah, my YouTube is thing is 92 Tino boxing. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
92 Tino Boxing. We'll make sure we leave that link in the description down
Yeah,
below.
yeah, 92 Tino boxing. And then I have a Facebook fan page only because I never figured out how to delete it. But yeah, it's just under Manuel Tino Avila and then El Orgullo de Fairfield. I mean, so that's my Facebook fan page. But I mean, that's all I got. I mean, if you message me on there, I answer back. If you comment on my videos, I answer back or I comment back or I give you a thumbs up if I just like what you say. Um, if you have a negative comment, yeah, I appreciate your comment, bro. But sometimes I answer and sometimes I don't. I mean, I don't argue with people over the internet. I mean, unless you're gonna argue with me face to face and hop in the ring with me, no point.
Spoken like a real motherfucker. Tino, I appreciate your time, bro. Let's definitely get you on after the fight. All right.
All right.
And good luck with your comeback.
All right. Thank you.